This video is sponsored by PTCGLstore.com, a great place for you to buy Pokemon TCG code cards. Hey guys, in today's video, I'll be showcasing Lycanroc from the Journey Together expansion set. Lycanroc has 120 HP, it has 2 retreat costs, and it is weak to grass. It has the ability Spike Clad. What this does is that if you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may attach up to 2 spiky energy cards from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So this ability helps to energize its attack, and it also helps to set up for an increased attack damage output. And the spiky energy is a special energy which acts as one colorless energy, and its effect is if the Pokemon with this attached is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack, the attacking Pokemon will receive 2 damage counters. And yes, this does stack, so your opponent's Pokemon can receive multiple damage. And to amplify the effect, I'm also using the Vengeful Punch tool card. If the Pokemon with this attached is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, the attacking Pokemon will receive 4 damage counters. And the reason why we're building up all that damage is because of Lycanroc's attack. For 3 colorless energies, Clamping Fangs deals 40 plus damage, and an additional 40 more damage for each damage counters already on your opponent's active Pokemon. So with as little as 70 initial damage on your opponent's active, you can deal as much as 280 damage for a total of 350 damage. And that may just be enough to knock out any Pokemon in the game. Sometimes though, waiting for your opponent to attack your Pokemon so they can get damage may not always be the best method. Which is why I have other Pokemon to help us out with that, starting with the new Maractus. This has the Exploding Needles ability. If this Pokemon is in the active spot and is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, you put 6 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. But you can also use its attack Corner. For 1 colorless energy, it deals 20 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon cannot retreat. So in combination with its attack, for the most part, you're pretty much forcing your opponent to knock out this Maractus and for their Pokemon to take the damage. Otherwise, this can be great for trapping your opponent's active Pokemon if you want to stall for a few turns. Next up, I also have Munkidori with the Adrena Brain ability. As long as it has a dark energy attached on it, you may transfer up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to your opponent's Pokemon. And I also have a 2-2-1 line of Dusclops and Dusknoir to use its Curse Blast ability. You do knock out your own Pokemon, however this will allow you to put either 5 damage counters with Dusclops or 13 damage counters with Dusknoir to one of your opponent's Pokemon. While you will give up a price with this ability, you may just be able to set up for big damage with Lycanroc's attack. And to add even more damage, I'm also utilizing the Stadium Calamitous Snowy Mountain. Each time either player attaches an energy from their hand to one of their basic Pokemon that is not water type, it will take 2 damage counters. As for my spec card, I will be using Brilliant Blender. This allows you to search your deck for up to 5 cards, then you discard them. I found this to be the most useful for this deck because this will guarantee you that at least 2 of your spiky energies will be in the discard pile, which is essential to use Lycanroc's ability and to energize its attack. As for the other cards worth noting, I did add 1 copy of Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon EX in this build. I just feel like there's a lot of Pokemon builds that is heavy on ability users in the format right now, so at least now we can wall them off thanks to its Cornerstone Stance ability, which prevents any damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon with abilities on them. Sometimes this may just give you an instant win against certain matchups. Overall, I think this Lycanroc is actually not half bad, but it's nowhere near competitive just yet. As long as you have a way to put damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, it can actually be quite powerful. I mean, there are still a few other ways that you can put damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. Unfortunately though, I feel like this deck is only very effective against linear attackers, and it's really difficult to win against those that can get around your traps, especially if your opponent has a lot of boss orders or if they have a Pokemon that can target your bench. But what do you guys think of this Lycanroc? Please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Anyways, that's pretty much it. You can find the complete deck list in the description below. And now please enjoy the following gameplay videos showcasing Lycanroc. Before we get into the video, I have a small request. If you're liking the content I create, please leave a like to this video. And please support this channel by subscribing if you haven't already. This is a small click for you, but for me, it means a lot. Thank you so much for all of your support. Alright, on to our first match. I will be starting this one with Maractus in the active spot. I'm gonna hold off on Cleffa. And my opponent will mulligan. They are using a Terra Pokemon in their deck for sure, because they have Area Zero, they also have Noctowl. And then we can draw 1 extra card from their mulligan. We got Vengeful Punch. And we're going against Raging Bolt EX, alright. So for sure they have Teal Mask Ogerpon EX in this build, but for the most part I think Raging Bolt EX is a very linear attacker. It attacks for a lot of damage but only targets the active for the most part. So hopefully we can win this one. They're just gonna attach an energy and end their turn. Thankfully we drew into our Brilliant Blender. And actually, out of all the A-Spec card, I found this to be the most useful for this deck. Because out of all the games that I've played so far, sometimes you just miss those spiky energies and then you just never set them up. So you can't energize your Lycanroc. But this one, you could just use this, get your spiky energies, and just discard them. So we can discard 3 for the meantime. And then I'm going to use Arven here to get Buddy Buddy Poffin, another Vengeful Punch. And then we can set up our basic Pokemon as much as we can here. So I'll get 2 Rockruffs for the meantime, put Cleffa into play, attach Vengeful Punch to Maractus, and then I can attach the other one to one of our Rockruffs. So if my opponent attempts to attack during this turn, Maractus Exploding Needle's ability will activate. If they knock it out, they will receive 6 damage counters, and with a Vengeful Punch, they will receive an extra 4 damage counter. So that's 100 damage. So they'll set up another Raging Bolt EX. They have Teal Mask Ogerpon EX. And they're going to go for Bellowing Thunder. Alright, so they will knock out our Maractus, discarding 2 energies, dealing 140 damage. And they will receive 10 damage counters. So all we have to do now is evolve into Lycanroc. First, we'll pivot into Cleffa. We can just retreat it. We got another Vengeful Punch. I'm just going to use Iono for now. And then, hopefully, we can draw into a Lycanroc. Dude, we missed it. We have 4 in the deck. Alright, well, we got Maractus. Let me go ahead and use Buddy Buddy Poffin to thin out my deck. I'll set up 2 Duskulls, and then I'm just going to use Grasping Draw. And even with that, we didn't draw into the Lycanroc. Okay, see, that scenario could be the spiky energies. If you're looking for the spiky energies that you want to discard, sometimes you just never draw into it. So at least with the Brilliant Blender, you can just discard them. My opponent played Fan Rotom, but they can only use its ability on the first turn, so it's actually pretty useless. Otherwise, they could just use it to attack if there is a Stadium in play. They're going to use Ultra Ball to set up another Pokemon. So they're going to grab Pheasantipity EX just in case we knock out this Raging Bolt. But yeah, we missed out on that knockout, unfortunately. So my opponent will be getting 2 prizes at the end of this turn. They're going to use Professor Sada's Vitality to accelerate energies to their ancient Pokemon, and then allowing them to also draw 3 more cards. And with the Nest Ball, they're going to get another Teal Mask Ogerpon EX, Earthen Vessel to get more energies. So, I mean, their consistency is pretty good, I gotta say. So the Teal Dance allows them to accelerate an energy to Ogerpon, while they also draw another card. So, another knockout here. All they need to do is discard 1 energy to knock out Cleffa for their second prize. So what I'm gonna try and do is put Rockruff in the active spot. Hopefully we can draw into Lycanroc here. But I'm going to put Calamitous Snowy Mountain in play, use Iono, and we got 2 Lycanrocs. Alright, finally. Thankfully with that 1 energy, we can now use the Spike Clad ability by evolving into Lycanroc. So we can accelerate the spiky energies to Lycanroc, allowing us to use Clapping Fangs, dealing 440 damage with that initial 100 damage, knocking out their Raging Bolt EX. Alright, not too bad. So at least the 2-to-1 price trade is going in our favor. And with the Calamitous Snowy Mountain, each time they attach an energy to their basic Pokemon that is not water type, they will receive 2 damage counters. So if they knock out Lycanroc, they will receive another 8 damage. So 2 for each spiky energy, and if they knock out Lycanroc, they will receive an additional 4 damage from the Vengeful Punch tool card. And not to mention, each time they use Teal Mask's ability, they will receive 2 damage counters. But you know what? They have a Cornerstone Ogerpon EX. Actually, that could be a problem because we don't have any attackers here that doesn't have an ability. They could just wall us off and we're just gonna lose. Although I could use Monkey Dory to transfer damage counters. Alright, so my opponent will go for another Bellowing Thunder, not caring about the damage counters that their Raging Bolt will receive. So now they have, again, 100 damage. So hopefully we can draw into another Lycanroc with Professor's Research. Never mind, we drew into one. But we do need another energy to power up Lycanroc here, because it requires 3 energies. The Spike Clad ability only allows you to accelerate 2. So we got Dark Energy. Alright, that's pretty good. Let me go ahead and use Ultra Ball to get Dusknoir. At least we can start to fully evolve into Dusknoir if we need it. And then I'm just going to take a knockout here. Again, 440 damage with that initial 100 damage from their Raging Bolt. So we got 2 more prizes. We got Boss's Orders. And now though, they are walling us off with the Cornerstone Ogerpon EX. And that's going to be very problematic. Because all of our attackers have abilities on them. And we can't touch this Cornerstone Ogerpon EX. I mean, we have our own Cornerstone, but I mean, that's the only way I think we can get through this. But it really depends on how fast one of us can fully energize their Ogerpon. But then again, if we do put Cornerstone Ogerpon EX, all they have to do is use Raging Bolt, which is, it has no abilities, and they can just knock out our Ogerpon. They can get 2 prizes for that. So this is a very delicate situation. I don't know what other way to describe it. Dangerous situation. We're gonna use Iono that will put us down to 2 cards in our hand. And we got an Arven, all right. And they're gonna replace our stadium with Area 0 Under Depths. Also expanding their bench because they have a Terra Pokemon in play. And with that, they're gonna pass. Alright. We got Calamitous Snowy Mountain. Let's go ahead and replace their stadium once again. And unfortunately, we can't really touch this Cornerstone Ogerpon. And no way for me to build damage to my own Pokemon so that I can transfer the damage with Monkey Dory. So man, I don't know how to deal with this Ogerpon. So with Arven, I'm just thinning out my deck. And yeah, I mean, I could use Dusknoir to add some damage to Fezandipity. Maybe if we can just boss this Fezandipity, we might be able to just get our last 2 prizes. Alright, let's go ahead and use Nest Ball to get... What else can we do, man? I don't know. There's no way to turn off Ogerpon's ability. So I'm just gonna end my turn here. What I'm afraid of is if they just retreat, they have another energy, Grass Energy to their Teal Mask. They could just knock out my Lycanroc, and then that's gonna be over for me. But if they do that though, they put themselves in danger. If we can evolve into another Lycanroc. So I think my opponent is playing it safe a little bit. They're just gonna keep this Ogerpon in the active spot, and they're just waiting for another energy to accelerate to it so that they can start attacking. So we drew into our Ogerpon. In 2 attacks they can knock it out though, and I'm just afraid that they're just gonna set up. If they set up a Raging Bolt, they can just knock it out and they're gonna win this one. So unfortunately, I'm just gonna pass. Maybe the damage counters that their Ogerpon receives will be enough to knock it out with something. Alright, they're gonna use Iono. We got a Dark Energy and Arven. So Demolish deals 140. That knocks out our Lycanroc. The Spiky Energies takes into effect along with the Vengeful Punch. But with so much HP. We can't touch this cornerstone. We gotta boss orders though. But my opponent just needs one more prize to win this. Oh, you know what? Since we have rescue board on Monkey Dory, I could just attach an energy to Maractus, and I can just boss this Fazandipity EX, and then I can just trap it. So I'm in desperation mode here, guys. So I'm just gonna go for corner, dealing 20 damage to their Fazandipity EX. And I'm just hoping that they don't have a switch in hand. And then, I mean, with 3 cards left in their hand, I'm, I'm just scared if they have Jet Energy or Switch or something that can get this Fazandipity EX out of the active spot. I mean, at this point, if my opponent has it, they'll win this one, right? But if they don't, we might be able to stall long enough to maybe even knock out this Fazandipity EX. My opponent will set up another Raging Bolt EX. We got Lycanroc, alright? I mean, that's something, right? Let's go ahead and evolve it. Spike Led is activated. We can accelerate 2 spiky energies onto it. And then, I mean, if we had an energy, but again, with Maractus retreat cost, it's just so bad. Maybe a Jet Energy would be good in this deck. We have no switch. We got Counter Catcher. I have no choice. I'm just gonna keep using corner. I mean, eventually we might knock out Fazandipity, get the last 2 prizes. We're gonna use Iono. We're gonna lose Counter Catcher. All right, we got Professor's Research. Maybe we can draw into an energy, but then again, we need to get this Maractus out of the active spot. All right, we got Reversal Energy. Unfortunately, Reversal Energy only activates to an evolution type Pokemon. So even if it counts as 3 energies, again, it only activates to an evolution Pokemon. So Maractus will only receive 1 energy. But regardless, that's what we need to get it out of the active. So with limited energies, I need to recover these 2 with Super Rod. And then I can use Earthen Vessel to get these energies. Let me go ahead and just put the Dark Energy to Monkey Dory in case my opponent tries to get their Ogerpon in the active. But then again, they're just gonna attack and just knock out our Pokemon. So once again, I'm gonna keep using corner, keep this Fazandipity EX in the active spot. What I should have done is just attach the energy to Monkey Dory, instead of Monkey Dory to Maractus. So I could have just retreated it and then use Lycanroc to attack this turn. But that's fine. I think we have this match in the bag as long as my opponent cannot retreat Fazandipity. So I'm just gonna deal as much damage as I can. We're 1 damage away from knocking out this Fazandipity, but we do have enough energies to retreat Maractus and an energy to my Lycanroc, and I think we're gonna have a big finish with this one. I mean, this was a close matchup, especially against that Cornerstone Ogerpon EX. They did stall a little bit, preventing us from dealing any damage to their Pokemon, but thankfully Maractus saved the day by trapping this Fazandipity EX in the active spot, even dealing enough damage for us to see how much Lycanroc can deal with 200 damage. So let's go ahead and attach that energy, retreat our Maractus, and you know what, guys? We're dealing... what is this? 1,680 damage! Alright, on to our second match. I will be starting this one with Dusknoir in the active spot, and I'm gonna hold off on Fazandipity EX for the meantime. Let's see what we're going up against here. Most likely an evolution type build here. Alright, they have an EV EX to start. Let's go ahead and use our Buddy Poffin, and I'm going to set up, I think, Rockruff and Cleffa, because we don't have any other draw support for our next turn, so Cleffa is a good option. I'll attach that, and then I'm going to retreat my Dusknoir. And I'm just gonna end my turn here. Anyways, I don't think my opponent can evolve to start attacking, so Cleffa should be safe, because this EVEX will not be able to evolve into anything just yet. What they need is the EV with the boosted evolutions ability, and that needs to be in the active, and they also need to energize it. So they're gonna use Earthen Vessel to get more energies. They got Fire and Water energies, and they're gonna use the Poffin to set up more basic. They have EV, and they also have Fan Rotom. They're gonna use the Fan Call ability. They can only use that on their first turn. That allows them to search their deck for up to 3 colorless Pokemon with 100 HP or less. So they're gonna get a bunch of Noctowl lineup. So they're gonna set up 2 Hoodhoods on their bench, and they're gonna end their turn. All right. So now it's our turn. We got an Arven, which is actually pretty useful. Now we can get our Brilliant Blender, and might as well get Vengeful Punch to attach to Cleffa. And again, Brilliant Blender is just so nice. You just go to your deck, discard a bunch of spiky energies, and at least 2 guys. And I like discarding an extra basic energy just in case. You can always recover that with Night Stretcher if you need that 3rd energy for Lycanroc's attack. So I'm just gonna finish off with Grasping Draw, but we have no other support trainer cards. But I mean, I think we're pretty much ready. If my opponent knocks out Cleffa, they'll receive 4 damage, but unfortunately that damage is not going to be enough to actually help us knock out their Flareon EX. So with fully energized Flareon EX, they use Burning Charge to knock out our Cleffa, energizing their 2nd Flareon on their bench, and my opponent will get their first prize. Well, we have another Rockruff in our hands, so I'm just gonna promote my Rockruff. We got Professor's Research. I'll put our Maractus into play as well. Evolve into Lycanroc, accelerate the 2 spiky energies, and let's go ahead and use Flip the Script for now. Alright, we got Dark Energy. Got another Rockruff. So we can fully energize Clamping Fangs. We're only dealing 200 damage. We're 30 damage shy of knocking out this Flareon EX, so that's very unfortunate, but I think we still have the advantage here because we're still doing a 2-to-1 price trade. I could probably evolve into Dusknoir, finish off this Flareon EX. But then the other Flareon doesn't have damage, so anyways, my opponent uses Noctowl. By evolving, they activate the Jewel Seeker ability, allowing them to search their deck for up to 2 trainer cards to put into their hand. So they have Terra Orb, they have Boss Orders, and they just need a Water Energy to fully power up Flareon EX. They can boss my Fessendipity EX, and then they can just knock it out, get 2 more prizes for that. So they'll set up their own Fessendipity on their bench, and they're gonna boss most likely Fessendipity EX, and there it is. Yep. I mean, I would have done the same. It's the most optimal choice, I would say. So they're gonna use Carnelian, dealing 280 damage, knocking out our Fessendipity EX, which will get them 2 more prizes. Well, we're way behind on our price trade here. I'm just gonna get Monkey Dory, use Professor's Research, and we have Calamitous Snowy Mountain with Super Rod. I'm gonna recover 2 Lycanrocs, and then we're dealing 1,000 damage. That's insane. 1,000 damage to their Flareon EX. Unfortunately, that was the only option that we had. There's really no way for us to finish off that Flareon. We didn't have any damage to our Pokemon. We don't have Dark Energy to attach to our Monkey Dory. So, I mean, we have to get our prizes, guys. So at least we were able to knock out one of their Flareon EX. Now, unless they have another Boss Orders, they have no choice but to attack this Lycanroc. We can deal damage, 80 damage. So with 2 spiky energies, along with Vengeful Punch, That's 8 damage counters total. And we have Ultra Ball, so we can evolve into another Lycanroc. We just need to get another energy, but they're gonna boss my Maractus. I mean, Maractus is weak against fire, so they can just use the Burning Charge attack. But they're just gonna pass. Alright. They're just gonna pass. Well, without any damage on their Flareon, at least we have an option here with Dusknoir. So we got an energy. I have Rescue Board. I could just retreat my Maractus and then sacrifice my Dusknoir to deal 5 damage counters, and that should be enough to knock out this Flareon EX. So I'm just gonna attach this energy on Maractus. Now we can retreat it to our Lycanroc. And then we're gonna use Dusknoir's Curse Blast to deal 5 damage counters to their Flareon EX. That we're giving up a prize, but still we can take 2 prizes for knocking out this Flareon EX. So I don't know if we need to use... I'll just use Super Rod. I'll get Duskull, Fezandipity, and an energy. So we're just gonna go with Clamping Fangs, dealing 240 damage for a total of 290 damage to get another knockout. 2 more prizes for us. We got Boss Orders and an Ultra Ball, so not too bad. Again, the 2-to-1 price trade, it is giving us an advantage here. So it doesn't matter if my opponent does evolve into another Flareon EX or another EX Pokemon. If they hit, knock out my Lycanroc, they will receive damage. And then we have another Lycanroc to evolve into. We have the energy that we need. And then we can just accelerate those spiky energies to finish off whatever Pokemon they have in the active. And even if they don't evolve this Eevee, that 4 damage counters is all we need. We have Boss Orders. So we pretty much have this game in the bag, guys. And again, as long as your opponent is very near, Lycanroc is actually a pretty strong attacker. This deck can be very strong. So as long as your opponent has limited gusting options and they don't hit your bench, you should be fine. So they're going to take a knockout against our Lycanroc. Knocking it out, Spiky Energies takes into effect along with the Vengeful Punch tool card with 120 damage to their Flareon EX. For sure we will win this one. And we got Lycanroc, we got the energy. So let's go ahead and evolve. Spike Clad. Accelerate the Spike Energies to our Lycanroc. And we're just going to finish off this Flareon EX with 520 damage, getting us our last 2 prizes to win the game. Good game. On to our final match. Let's go ahead and start with Maractus in the active spot. We also have Rockruff on our bench. But we have a pretty decent opening hand. We have Professor's Research to help us draw more cards. And 2 Nest Balls so that we can set up 2 more basic Pokemon on our bench. Let's see what we're going up against here. Well, my opponent will start with Fezandipity EX. Let's go ahead and set up as much as we can here. I'll get Monkey Dory for now. I can attach this Dark Energy so I can set it up. And then with this other one, I can just get... I'm going to go for Duskull. And then I'm just going to end my turn. There's really not much we can do during our first turn, but we did set up Monkey Dory. I'm happy with that. Oftentimes, I don't use it as much, especially if I can't attach that Dark Energy. But it's ready to go. So my opponent will use Nest Ball as well. And we're going against Hop's Zacian EX. Alright. Well, we can expect damage to our benched Pokemon. But thankfully, we set up Monkey Dory already. So we'll just transfer those damage to our opponent's Pokemon. And hopefully that will increase the damage for our Lycanroc. So they have Postwick Stadium to increase Hop's Pokemon's attacks. They also have Snorlax with an ability to increase Hop's Pokemon's attacks by another 30 damage. So they have an energy. They can attack for 60. That's a total of 90 actually, because Zacian's attack has a 30 base damage, but our Maractus survives the attack, so I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and use Professor's Research. We got Brilliant Blender. Look at that. Always love to see this. And we can discard 2 Spiky Energy and Dark Energy. And then let's see here. I mean, if they attack Maractus, they're gonna take 60 damage, so we should be fine. For now, I'm gonna use Adrena Brain while I think about this. I'll put 3 damage counters from Monkidori to their Zacian. And then I'll just put the Vengeful Punch tool card to Maractus, put Dusknoir in play, and I'm just gonna end my turn. So we can't knock out this Zacian EX just yet. We can't retreat Maractus, so we should be fine. I mean, I could have just attacked with Maractus to trap Zacian, but because it is Metal type Pokemon, it is resistant to grass, so we're dealing 0 damage anyway, so it'll be useless. And we're just wasting energy if we do that. So I'll just wait for my opponent to knock it out. Their Pokemon will receive damage, and then we can take a knockout. But they're gonna boss my Monkidori. Dude, don't be like that, man. Well, at least we survived. They knocked out my Maractus, but the Vengeful Punch still works while our Pokemon is on the bench. So it did inflict 4 damage counters to their Zacian EX. And then let me use Adrena Brain to transfer damage to... I'll put it on their Cramorant. And then I can use Ultra Ball to get my Lycanroc. Let's see if we have... I mean, we got Rescue Board. We can retreat our Monkidori to preserve our Dark Energy. So let's go ahead and evolve. Our Spike Clad ability activates, so we can accelerate the Spiky Energies to Lycanroc, attach the one in our hand, and with Arven, we're gonna... I mean, let's see what item cards we can use here. So Rescue Board for sure for Monkidori, and then I'll just get Night Stretcher. So let's go ahead and retreat into Lycanroc. And Clamping Fangs deals 320 damage for a total of 390 damage, knocking out Hop's Zacian EX. And that got us 2 prizes. We got Rockruff and Buddy Buddy Poffin. But you know what? Our hand looks pretty bad right now because we have no way to draw into other cards. I can use Night Stretcher to possibly recover this Lycanroc if they do end up knocking it out. So we are at 4 prizes, so this Cramorant can definitely attack. So Hop's Cramorant's attack requires that their opponent only has 3 or 4 prizes remaining. Anything outside of that, this Cramorant cannot attack. So with increased damage output though, so they have Hop's Choice Band, they have Postwick and Snorlax. So they're hitting for 200 plus damage here. Okay, they have Koi Coco. Interesting. So 210 damage to our Lycanroc, but my Spiky Energy, 3 of them, activates and it deals 60 damage to their Cramorant. But you know what? With the damage counters we already have on Monkidori, I could just transfer these damage with the Adrena Brain ability, and we can knock out this Cramorant. There it is. We got 1 prize for that. I'll take it. So we got an Ultra Ball actually, and a Night Stretcher does help out. So, I mean, we already used up Adrena Brain though, so with no damage counters on Latias EX, we're really not dealing anything. So for now, I'm gonna use Ultra Ball, and then I mean, we don't have Pheasantipity EX, so we can't really draw into anything. I think I'm just gonna go for Maractus. I might just have to trap this Latias EX in the active spot for now while I stall so that we can get the right cards in our hand. So we're gonna go for Maractus. We're gonna put Rockruff in play, and I'm just gonna attack with Corner, dealing 20 damage and preventing my opponent's Latias EX from retreating. So I'm surprised to see Fuecoco on their board. I mean, they can use Skeledirge EX, the one that discards fire energies, I think it is, and they can increase the damage output for their attacks. I mean, maybe that's what they're going for. However, my opponent had a switch. They switched into Snorlax. They used Professor's Research, so they have plenty of cards in their hand to work with. They're gonna use Hop's Bag to set up more Pokemon on their bench. Most probably another Hop's Zacian EX. No, another Snorlax. Okay. Well, Latias EX is giving all of their basic Pokemon free retreats, and Blood Moon Ursaluna EX is waiting. When we are down just 1 or 2 prizes remaining, they can definitely attack for a lot. So they have Hop's Choice Belt to go on Snorlax. That reduces the attack cost by 1 colorless energy, but they still can't attack. So we're still okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and replace their Postwick Stadium, and I'm just gonna corner this Hop's Snorlax in the active spot. I mean, you know, with an empty hand, there's really not much we can do. So what else am I gonna do, right? So my opponent finally finds the last energy they need to power up Snorlax. Now they can attack with it. But you know what? Actually, Snorlax attack deals 80 damage to itself, and they're gonna use a Iono. Dude, why did they do that? That actually got us a Lycanroc and a Boss's Orders. However, even if we evolve into a Lycanroc, we still need an energy to attach that final and third energy to attack. So with Maractus' ability, it actually knocked out their attacking Snorlax, and we got a prize for that. So I'm happy with that. All right, I will take it. And we got Professor's Research from our prizes. So hey, we're getting all the cards that we need here. I can search for an energy or draw for more with Professor's Research, and I think we can finish this off actually. So we're gonna evolve into Lycanroc, activate its ability so we can attach the spiky energies from our discard pile onto it. We just need 1 more energy. So I'm just gonna use Professor's Research, and we got Reversal Energy. Look at that. And that will be enough to fully power up our Lycanroc's attack. And I'm just gonna recover these, and then I think we could take a knockout here actually. Yeah, we have Adrena Brain. All we have to do is just retreat. We're only hitting for 90 because Latias EX is resistant to fighting, so hopefully these damage counters will be enough to for us to knock it out. I can't tell right now. And let's see if the... Alright, 210 damage. There it is. Good game. Good game. And that's it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching the Popsicleknight channel. And until next time, please stay safe and have a great day.